Good evening. Organisers say a record 180,000 people attended the candlelight vigil at Victoria Park tonight to mark the 25th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square crackdown. They are hailing it as proof that Hong Kong has not forgotten what happened in Beijing on this day in 1989. ATV's Britain Clennett reports from Victoria Park.
Even before the candlelight vigil began at 8 p.m, the organisers announced that all 6 football pitches at Victoria Park were already full of people attending the annual event. They had to open up basketball courts to accommodate the crowds as people were still pouring in an hour later. Joining tens of thousands of local residents, mainland visitors and tourists also turned up to get a taste of Hong Kong-style democracy on display.
This is a very important day. We have to remember this. We want to do this until the government has changed their mind and then they have confessed that they did something wrong in the past.
In the sweltering heat, pro-democracy politicians, students and members of the Alliance in Support of Patriotic Democratic Movements in China gave speeches and led the crowds in singing protest songs, chanting slogans and screening videos. All of it to remember and honour those who died in the Tiananmen Square crackdown on this day 25 years ago. Organisers were expecting a record turnout, undeterred by a survey out yesterday showing a drop in public support for an official vindication of the pro-democracy movement in China that was suppressed by PLA tanks and troops.
Of course, we noticed that a drop in support, but at the same time, we noticed that actually the support from young generation had increased. So I would say that the future is assured.
Another problem for the organisers this time was the threat of clashes, with pro-Beijing activists staging a counter-rally just outside Victoria Park.
These are agents of the Communist Party, and the Communist Party doesn't even say that nobody died on the 4th of June 1989.
In Tsim Sha Tsui, where radical pan-democrats were holding an alternative vigil, police had to keep the peace as those taking part traded insults with pro-Beijing protesters. But back at Victoria Park, organisers played down the confrontations.
We respect, others' right to have their own activity, but in a way, I think the people of Hong Kong understand that we have to, unite it and concentrate all our power of protest in Victoria Park, because the Communist Party is watching the Victoria Park, the world is watching Victoria Park, and we have to show to the world that Hong Kong people had not forgotten.
Just before 10 p.m, organisers announced a record turnout of 180,000. For them, it was mission accomplished. The turnout at the June the 4th vigil has always been a matter of concern, both for supporters and opponents of this annual tradition. Whatever the actual numbers may be, the sea of candles lighting up Victoria Park tonight is proof that the memory of Tiananmen is still alive and well in Hong Kong. Britain Clennett, ATV News.
In Beijing, authorities went all out with a security clampdown at Tiananmen Square and efforts to muffle activists marking the anniversary. China also hit out at the US and the UN for demanding that Beijing account for those killed in 1989. It looked like business as usual in Tiananmen Square during the daily flag-raising ceremony at dawn. The crowd of onlookers was allowed to take pictures, but as the day went on, scores of police officers descended on the square to impose a blanket security clampdown. Dozens of police vehicles were parked around the area, while plainclothes and uniformed officers were everywhere, checking IDs and keeping a close eye on visitors. Most overseas media, including our reporters, were not allowed to do their work on the grounds that they had not applied for a permit. Foreign journalists were even trailed by police cars while driving around the capital. China watchers say the central government's handling of the sensitive event is especially tough this year, although the official explanation is that there's a need for added security because of a spate of terror attacks blamed on Muslim separatists from the troubled region of Xinjiang. Human rights group Amnesty International listed more than 70 people who have been detained, placed under house arrest, questioned or forced to go on a trip ahead of the anniversary. One of them was 77-year-old Jiang Xianling, who founded the Tiananmen Mothers Group to demand justice for their children who died in the crackdown. There was a heavy police presence outside her Beijing home this morning, although she was allowed to pay her respects to her son at the cemetery. While Beijing residents were nervous about saying anything on camera, a controversial mainland academic chose to break his silence on June 4th. Peking University professor Kong Qingdong, a hardline nationalist, released a 36-minute video in which he expressed regret over the violent crackdown back in 1989. Kong said while the government was responsible, student leaders and foreign powers were also to blame for twisting the nature of the democracy movement. One of those foreign powers, the U.S., spoke out today through a White House statement urging Beijing to account for those killed in the incident. It also called on China's leaders to guarantee their citizens universal rights and fundamental freedoms. That drew a sharp response from the Foreign Ministry. We demand the U.S. side respect China's judicial sovereignty and not make irresponsible comments on issues that are related to China's internal affairs, said spokesman Hong Lei. He also hit out at UN Human Rights Chief Navi Pillay, accusing her of a grave violation of her authority in urging China to reveal the truth about what happened in Tiananmen 25 years ago. LegCo President Zhang Yuxing today rejected a request by pan-democratic lawmakers for the chamber to pay tribute to Tiananmen victims. But opposition lawmakers went ahead and held a minute's silence. ATV's Bo Lang reports.
Before LegCo got down to the business of bickering over the budget bill this morning, Labour Party leader Lee Cheuk-yan and his fellow pan-democratic lawmakers, all wearing black and standing up, called for a moment of silence to mark the 25th anniversary of June 4th. We hope that we can end one-party rule in China as early as possible, said Lee. I would like to invite you to observe 1 minute of silence with us. But LegCo President Zhang Yuxing rejected the request, pointing out that the chamber has clear rules for such a tribute, which can only be carried out in special circumstances. The unionist lawmaker insisted that the June 4th victims had contributed to the mainland's democratic development, adding they are more important than so-called VIPs in the political circle. When the LegCo president, a Beijing loyalist, rejected their request, pan-democratic lawmakers went ahead anyway, bowing their heads to observe a minute of silence. The LegCo president adjourned the meeting and left the chamber, followed by some members from the pro-government camp. Pro-establishment lawmakers rallied around Zhang's decision and criticised Lee's demand.
It's been agreed that members would only observe a minute's silence in the case of the passing away of a member of the council, a very important political leader in Hong Kong, or a recent tragedy or catastrophe involving substantial loss of life. His request did not come within these criteria. So I think the LegCo president made the right ruling.
Yesterday, Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying refused to say anything about the June 4th anniversary. Bo Lang, ATV News.
While most pan-democratic lawmakers were out attending the vigil tonight, their pro-government colleagues ensured the passage of the budget bill. That's after the LegCo president killed the filibuster holding up the bill. The debate on the budget bill began on the 30th of April, but its passage has been held up by a filibuster. Radical lawmakers filed a record 1,192 amendments to press for a universal pension scheme and a $10,000 handout for permanent residents. This afternoon, Neo-Democrat lawmaker Gary Fan read out the final amendment. The amendment was thrown out after it failed to get enough support, and LegCo President Zhang Yuxing immediately moved on to deal with the remaining procedures. Zhang had been hoping the third reading of the bill could be completed tonight, after effectively killing the filibuster by imposing a deadline on voting last week. Over the past 5 weeks, lawmakers spent more than 120 hours debating the bill and voting on the amendments. More than 30 hours were spent on quorum calls, summoning lawmakers to the chamber to ensure there were enough of them to vote. Unionist Wong Kwok-hing was the first to speak in the debate sandwiched between the vote on the amendments and the third reading today. He launched into a fierce criticism of the radicals behind the filibuster. Wong claimed the delaying tactic saw $35.7 million of hard-earned taxpayers' money go down the drain. He said the money could have been better spent on handouts to the needy, a group which the radicals claim to champion. Wong also called on Zhang to end filibusters quickly. People Power lawmaker Raymond Chan dismissed Wong's accusations, saying there was no evidence that public money was wasted. With the government warning that it was running out of funds to continue vital services, Zhang stepped in and set the 4th of June as the date for passing the budget. That sparked renewed criticism that he was abusing his power to help the government and please Beijing. After almost 8 hours of debate today, the third reading of the bill finally began this evening, and it was passed shortly before 8:30 p.m. by 36 votes against 3, with 1 abstention. Most of the Pan-Democrats were not even there as they were attending the candlelight vigil at Victoria Park. A relieved Financial Secretary John Tsang welcomed the passage of the bill, but he raised concerns that radical lawmakers will launch another filibuster to delay next year's budget. Complaining that nearly 30% of LegCo's meeting time was wasted on the filibuster, he called on lawmakers and the public to think carefully whether this should be allowed to happen again. But he insisted it hasn't come to this because of bad relations between the executive and the legislature. Hong Kong's biggest corruption trial is finally set to move forward after a new jury was selected today, after the first one was dismissed last week. ATV's Emily Siu reports.
It took the High Court 3.5 hours today to select 6 women and 3 men to serve on a new jury in the city's biggest corruption trial. The original 9-member panel was dismissed by Justice Andrew McCrae last week after 1 juror was excused for medical reasons. Before the selection process began this morning, McCrae told the more than 100 prospective jurors to keep a fresh and open mind so they can make fair and impartial decisions based only on the evidence presented in court. McCrae said it's dangerous for jurors to make a decision based on second-hand information obtained outside of court. Out of the 49 randomly selected from the pool, 24 were challenged by the 5 defense lawyers, while McCrae exempted 16. Those excused cited medical reasons, trips planned ahead and paid for, and concerns over a possible conflict of interest due to business ties with Sun Hung Kai Properties, which is owned by 2 of the 5 defendants. But McCrae refused to excuse others whose reasons included wanting to attend a wedding overseas, planning to get married in the summer, or being afraid they are too old to juggle medical appointments and jury duty. Hong Kong's biggest corruption trial can finally begin now that a new jury has been chosen. Over the coming weeks and months, testimony in court will provide details of the charges that have put some of the city's most prominent figures in the dock. Former Chief Secretary Raphael Hui and billionaire brothers Raymond and Thomas Kwok, who co-chair Hong Kong's biggest developer Sun Hung Kai, are facing 8 charges in a multi-million-dollar corruption case. Hui, the government's former number 2 under then Chief Executive Donald Tsang, is accused of receiving $34 million in bribes and other financial inducements from the Kwoks in exchange for favorable treatment. The trio, along with 2 other co-defendants, Sun Hung Kai Executive Director Thomas Chan and former Hong Kong Stock Exchange official Francis Kwan, have denied all charges. The trial resumes at 10 a.m. tomorrow. After the jury is sworn in, the prosecution will make its opening submission. The trial is expected to last until October, with 2 breaks in between.
Property tycoon Lee Shao-ki has warned that slashing the number of mainlanders coming here under the individual visit scheme will severely affect the retail sector. Here's Bo Lang.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying triggered a storm last week when he suggested cutting down the number of visitors from across the border by 20%. Share prices of property and retail firms fell, followed by fresh concerns yesterday when economic data showed that retail sales in April plunged 9.8% from a year ago to a 5-year low. The influx of tourists has angered many locals who say Hong Kong has already reached its full capacity and visitors are disrupting everyday life. But the flip side is the losses retailers would suffer without tourist dollars from across the border. Property tycoon Lee Shao-ki waded into the debate today. The Henderson Land Development chairman said the government should focus on adjusting the multiple entry visa scheme for registered Shenzhen residents and also tackle parallel traders. But he warned against drastic cuts in the individual visit scheme, which allows residents of 49 mainland cities to enter Hong Kong without joining package tours. Lee said slashing numbers in that group would hurt the retail sector. On a separate issue, the billionaire again condemned the Occupy Central movement, warning it could harm the city's economy and social stability and tarnish Hong Kong's image. Bo Lang, ATV News.
Overseas, the U.S. government is under fire on the home front after exchanging 5 Taliban prisoners for the only American soldier held captive in Afghanistan. ATV's Winner Wang reports.
This video released by the Taliban purports to show the final minutes of an American soldier's captivity in Afghanistan. A clean-shaven Sergeant Bo Bergdahl sits in a pickup truck awaiting an American helicopter. Armed Taliban fighters dot the surrounding hills in an area close to the border with Pakistan. After 5 years in captivity, Bergdahl was freed under a controversial deal. 5 senior Taliban officials held for a decade in Guantanamo Bay were handed over to Qatar in exchange for the 28-year-old American. The tense wait ends when a Black Hawk helicopter descends from the sky. After a brief greeting, Bergdahl is taken to the aircraft, which lifts off, flying the former prisoner of war to freedom. The Taliban ends the video with a stark message. As Bergdahl recuperates in a U.S. military hospital in Germany, the euphoria over his release has been replaced in many quarters with growing dissatisfaction, even anger. Republican lawmakers want to investigate the circumstances of his release. They claim that allowing 5 Taliban officials to leave Guantanamo is a major mistake.
These people have dedicated their lives to destroying us. This decision to bring Sergeant Bergdahl home, and we applaud that he is home, is ill-founded, it is a mistake, and it is putting the lives of American servicemen and women at risk, and that, to me, is unacceptable to the American people.
Other lawmakers were angry that they were not informed before the deal. President Barack Obama, who's on a European tour, has continued to defend his decision, saying he'll do everything to bring all captured U.S. soldiers home, regardless of the circumstances. But some soldiers who served with Bergdahl say he's a deserter who does not deserve a hero's welcome. At least 6 other soldiers were killed while searching for the missing sergeant. Winner Wang, ATV News.
Finance news: Hong Kong stocks fell from a 5-month high today, hit by losses in the property sector. The Hang Seng Index closed 0.6% or 139 points lower at 23,151. Investors dumped property stocks following a recent rally in the sector. Let's take a look at markets overseas, starting in the US. The Dow Jones is down 8 points. In Europe, the London FTSE is down 27 points. The Frankfurt DAX is down 4 points. The Paris CAC is down 5 points. US dollar cross rates: the euro 1.36, the pound is 1.67, it's 102.69 Japanese yen against the US dollar. There was no first prize winner in tonight's Mark 6 draw, which means the jackpot for the next draw will be more than $60 million. The winning numbers: 10, 11, 25, 33, 40, 46. The extra number is 6. The weather forecast for the next few days. Mainly fine and hot tomorrow apart from isolated showers in the morning. Temperatures will range from 28 to 32 degrees. More of the same over the rest of the week. Here's a look at the weather around the world. That's all the news for now. Thanks for watching ATV. I'm Edna. Good night.
Coming up, racing to win. ATV Amazing Summer. Home Channel, the latest TV series and variety shows colour your life. World Channel, travelling information and popular dramas are all here. Asia Channel, breaking news and the latest information keep you in pace with time. Classic Channel, classic programmes remind warm memories. CCTV1, focus on national affairs and hot topics. Shenzhen TV, connecting Shenzhen and Hong Kong, broadening horizons. Watch ATV, embrace the coming amazing summer. ATV World Channel makes this summer even hotter. All travelling information and popular dramas are just on World Channel. We open a window to let you see how extraordinary the world can be. Follow Begin Japanology into the world of Japanese culture. Classic spectaculars of all kinds. Challenging Kung Fu Master.
We will not be abused anymore!
I'm not going to let you lose in front of your man, Father. Don't worry.
Tackling ghosts' problems.
Is someone here?
Resolving criminal minds. Embrace the coming amazing summer. Recall mammals' life in the age of dinosaurs. Though threatened by the extreme peril of death, these brilliant creatures survived in their way. Figure out the key to mammals' reversal of fortune. All About documentary, World After Dinosaurs. Friday night at 10.
Shopfront extensions create inconvenience for other people and can be messy. What should be done? The government is now consulting the public on the enhanced measures against shopfront extensions. The consultation document is available at these departments or on their websites. The pavement is for everyone's use. Please share your views by July 14.
Every year, their warm hearts enlighten our minds. ATV Hong Kong Loving Heart Selection Campaign 2014 is now open for nomination. The 5th year, we need more positive energy.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome along to Racing to Win Wednesday night, because we've got the very last Happy Valley meeting of the season being staged tomorrow, a Thursday night. And it should be a huge crowd there, Brett, with these very warm weather conditions we've got.
Absolutely, Darren. Yeah, it's still very, very warm, obviously. And yeah, if it's anything, if last year's final meeting at the season at the Valley is anything to go on, it'll be very busy there.
Yes.
They were stopping people from coming in, I think, after race 3 last year. Obviously, it was the last meeting of the season as well, so it probably had a little bit more impact. But last meeting at the Valley for quite some time, Clint. It'll be a full house.
It will be, and Happy Valley Vars, the main feature, and Rainbow Chic won that race last year Darren, and he bids to do the same. I caught up with Casper Founds yesterday and interviewed him about that horse, so stay tuned. We've got that later on the program.
Yeah, and then he was back there in January for the January Cup, and an outstanding run in defeat behind Same World, so both those horses line up again tomorrow, so it's a tasty clash there in the Happy Valley Vase. But we'll go on to have a look at this program for you shortly, but we'll just quickly recap a few things from the weekend. Well, Zach Purton's put himself in the record books by being the first jockey other than Douglas White to reach 100 winners in a season, and he achieved that in this desperately close finish on packing Clara Gibb, who was able to just edge out Kaya.
Yeah, 3 wins in a row for packing Clara Gibb, and I thought it was a terrific ride. I mean, it was a bit of a tactical battle early on, you know, where he was going to end up, and he was a lot more forward in the race than probably most sort of expected, Clint. But great battle with Kaya over the final stages. Great effort for Zach Purton to get 100 winners. Great effort by the horse and Andreas Schutz as well to win 3 in a row, particularly going up in class and up in distance.
Yeah, no, he's going great guns, isn't he? They always do when they get a name like that, don't they, Darren? Yes. We have to keep calling them home, but he's a nice horse, and I'm sure there's more in store for him.
Yeah, at least we're getting used to the name now. Anyhow, 100 winners for Zach Purton. He's now 15 clear of Joe Moreira and 20 clear of Douglas White, and Douglas is now in the process of starting a 2-meeting suspension. Karis Teeton on 46 and Olivier Deleuze on 37. So I think it's pretty safe to say now that although Zach Purton has a suspension coming up himself, it's going to be pretty hard to see him getting knocked off from here on present form. And what the focus really should be from here is the extra 14 wins to break Douglas White's record.